Do you ever get that feeling like a project is just getting completely out of your control? It can be kind of like watching a car crash in slow motion, and it turns into a big mess for everyone involved. You're actually doing your client a favor if you set strict rules and maintain control of the project. Stick around and I'll tell you how. This is Hassle-Free Websites, and I'm your unfortunately boring host, Justin Meadows. If you want to make selling websites easier and more profitable for your business, you're in the right place. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes. Too many chefs spoil the broth. You'll sometimes find yourself in situations where your client has a business partner or someone else in their business who helps them make decisions about their website. And it's quite common that the person you're dealing with might not be the final decision maker. Or even if they are, they might be bringing in advice from someone else in their business. Or in the worst case scenario, there might be 5 or more people with a stake in the decision-making process. As much as possible, you want to avoid that situation. It usually delays the decision-making and increases the number of revisions you need to make on the project. Because all those extra people feel that because they're involved, they need to add some input, but they don't always have all the context and background information to make the right decision. This then leads to a project diverging away from what was originally intended. As much as possible, you want to be dealing with one person for the life of the project, and you want that one person to be the final decision maker for the business. So this is a rule that you should have when building websites, and you should make that rule clear from the start of the project. Now, I just want to discuss why it's important to have rules like this when you're building a website. There are a bunch of other rules like this that you should have in your business, and I'll go over those shortly. But first, I just want to explain why it's important to have rules like this and stick to them. Because it can be hard, especially when you're starting out, to stick to those rules and even to know what sort of rules you should set in the first place. Most of the time, these rules come from trial and error. You do things the wrong way and then you learn to put in rules in place so you don't end up in that same situation. Hopefully, I can help you shortcut that process and set a few good rules in place from the start. Now, sometimes it can be tempting to bend your rules in order to get a client over the line, but almost without fail, you will regret making that decision. And whenever you notice a client actively trying to get around your rules, that should raise a red flag immediately, and you should reevaluate if you need them as a client. And you should keep in mind that having these strict rules is not just for your sake, it helps the client get the best result as well. Because most of these rules allow you to do your best work. Because if you find yourself doing work that you're not really comfortable with or not doing it the way that you should be doing it, then it's very hard for you to give 100% of your effort and creativity to the project. So you're doing your client a favor by being very strict about your rules. And make sure that you make them very clear to clients early on in the process, maybe an FAQ section on your website and on your initial proposal, and certainly make it clear in your brief and just in conversations that you have with the client. So next, I'll just go over a few other rules that you might want to consider. Have some rules around communication. Make sure your client knows how best to communicate with you and how to provide feedback and any instructions, and also what boundaries you have around communication. For example, you might not want clients to expect to be able to call you on the weekends. Or what we do is we only communicate via email for project communication. This allows us to keep all the communication in one thread in our support desk. We don't let our clients phone us up and give us the instructions over the phone because those instructions might be lost. Another rule to consider is your payment terms. I find there are very few reasons that a client can't pay you in advance. If they have the budget for the project, then they can usually front up the cash in advance. But I also understand that sometimes it makes sense to go 50-50. So do whatever works for you, but just make it clear that the client understands when payments need to be made and how they should be made to you. You also should have some rules about your tools and software. We have a few rules about the tools we use to build websites. There are some plugins that we don't use, and we have rules around selecting plugins. Also, we have rules with themes. We never buy marketplace themes and then customize them. We always work with proven theme frameworks. Also, we only work with WordPress. We don't work on any other website platforms. And this is because we believe that it's very important to just find out what works best and stick to it and get really good at it, rather than spreading yourself thin over several different platforms. And when it comes to domains, we also believe that it's very important to make sure that you leave complete control of the asset to the client. Instead of purchasing domains on our client's behalf, we just guide our clients through the process of purchasing their own domains. Likewise, for software licenses, unless we have a developer license, we make sure it's purchased in the client's name and that they will be notified directly for any renewals or ongoing billing. This just avoids any messes later on down the track. Another good rule to have is around content. You want to make sure that you get your content up front at the start of the project. This is because content affects both the design and the development of the website. If the content is going to be slightly different in size or the types of media, then that is going to change things. So you want to have that upfront as much as possible. Now, I understand that sometimes getting content from clients can be like pulling teeth, but check out Content Snare. It's a great app that makes it a lot easier to get content from your clients. And finally, don't show the client anything until it's ready. Our rule is that after they've signed off on the design, we don't show them anything while we're building the project until it has been fully completed and gone through our QA checks and bug testing. Sometimes clients ask to see the progress of the website, but they always end up adding in a bit more feedback and some changes, and that just makes things messy. Also, it looks unprofessional, and because clients don't quite understand the development process, they make some strange assumptions. So we have found it's a lot better if they just sign off on the clear brief and design, and then they don't say anything until it's pretty much ready to go live. So today we covered off a few rules that I think are important for you to consider in your business, and there's certainly others, and you might have variations on these rules. But what is important is that you make sure they are clearly communicated to your clients, both in your FAQs and your brief and proposal, and just in all of your communications. So I hope you got a lot of value out of this, and make sure you check out the next episode where we're going to talk about creating a quality customer support experience for your clients. In other news, this morning there was a large explosion at a Paris cheese factory. Debris was everywhere. A recent study discovered that women who are overweight generally live longer than the men who pointed out. And a local man successfully cut off his entire left side. He's all right now.